everybody, it's Chip Roy from Texas 21, and I'm outside of the House of Representatives, outside of the U.S. Capitol, where we just passed the Save America Act. Simple legislation, as you know, to guarantee that only American citizens vote in American elections and that we present voter ID at the polls. It was on a bipartisan basis. We had a Democrat join us, so now it heads to the Senate.
Ah, yes. Our Democrats. Are they really democratic at all? I've been saying for a long time now that, common sense isn't, and friendly fire isn't, and the Democratic Party isn't. Boy, are they not. Yeah, women can't get IDs and vote like normal people. Keeping in mind that the Democrat Party fought against the 19th Amendment, fought against women getting the vote in the United States, quite effectively for at least a decade and a half. Democrats kept women from getting the vote, while Republicans were fighting to get women the vote. The Democrats, of course, fought against, black people getting the vote, and all the Jim Crow laws were all Democrat laws. And now they're pounding the table. Oh, no, Republicans want voter ID, and we're a quarter of the way through the 21st century. Every homeless person has an iPhone. They have Venmo accounts. But never mind all that. And I do want to get back in a minute to my best girl and I at the dinner table last night, talking about mailbag questions, and that came up at the dinner table with my best girl last night, and about whether the 250th anniversary this summer of the United States of America will be comparable to the bicentennial 50 years ago, and what the differences are between now and then. I want to do that. And in the meantime, let's go to the phones, because I'm excited. I'm thrilled to announce that a friend of mine has called in, a great journalist, Sharyl Attkisson, who you may know, and her wonderful show, Full Measure, which is seen all across the country on Sinclair stations, and in Washington, D.C. on Channel 7, which is the Sinclair station, Washington. And Sharyl, are you there?
I'm here.
You are there. You're the best. Thanks so much for calling in.
Sure.
I
enjoy listening to you wherever I am. I listen to you on the thingamajiggy radio.
Cut it out. Now I'm gonna be nervous when I do radio. I can't believe that. Now I'm gonna have to be all tight. Well, Sharyl and I were going back and forth on our instant communication. I don't want to reveal the methodology, but Sharyl and I were going back and forth. And Sharyl, you were just in Minneapolis. You were just in Minnesota, and you were taking a look at the landscape there. What did you see? And were you just in Minneapolis, St. Paul? Did you get more broadly into outer Minnesota? What did you see while you were there?
Well, mostly in the Twin Cities area, because I embedded with ICE, I guess one of the last times that they were doing under their Operation Metro, the roundups of illegal immigrants. And there are so many there that they will carefully target a criminal illegal immigrant who is released from jail instead of being turned over to ICE. They'll find out where they live, and when they go to find them, they end up seeing other people leave the residence, stopping them, thinking it may be the target, and they're other illegal immigrants. I mean, it feels like they're kind of all over the place. So we went along. That'll be on an upcoming episode of Full Measure, what we saw and what we did there.
That is great, and you were great. Is it going to be this weekend or not this weekend?
A week from Sunday.
Very good.
Sunday. Yeah.
Very good. Well, your show is a great show, and I DVR it and I watch it. Your show is what 60 Minutes is supposed to be.
Well, thank you. And some interesting stuff doesn't always make it on the TV broadcast, because the story I'm really working on is about the ICE embed and what they did, and also how the Somali community reacted and reacts to that, because it's a huge, as you said, Somali community. They call it Little Mogadishu. It's an area called Riverside there. But one of the really surprising things to me was the Somali citizens we talked to, or Somali Americans, complained about the treatment. And I do believe, I take them at some face value, that there are probably cases in which Some people felt intimidated, or perhaps situations were not handled by the federal agents in the best way they could be. On the other hand, it's a weird thing that's taken place. I call it sort of a no-go zone. I mean, Little Mogadishu, to me, was not safe to be there if you are an outsider, if they recognize you as a white person who is not doing spotting of ICE agents. They tell you you don't belong. They demand your ID. They tell you you're not welcome there. It's sort of an intimidating situation.
Well, wait a minute. They demand your ID?
Some people do, yes. So there was these self-appointed, I don't know what you call them, I guess, protesters who are white, who are allowed in this area, and they try to look kind of official. And at first, I think my crew thought that these were some kind of security people. We were in a place in this area that I'm talking about where we were invited because we were going to be interviewing some Somali Americans. But I guess they didn't know we were invited, and they thought our rental vehicle looked like an ICE vehicle. And they came inside, one of them, and started sort of demanding who we were and why we were doing there, and that we were scaring people just by being present. And I asked the guy, well, who are you? What's your name? Because he was asking for our ID and what's our name. And he wouldn't tell me any of his information. So he's demanding stuff from us, but not giving anything about who he is. And I sensed pretty quickly that he was nobody official. He's just somebody that's appointed himself to be the lookout. And that's what it turned out to be. Well, then later, as we were going around shooting B-roll in the area and all, we were tracked, we were followed. Our license plates were tracked because one of the spotters told us that they had seen our license plate earlier at ICE headquarters. So they're communicating. Then some of the Somali Americans will stop you if they don't know that you're with or invited there and say things like, you look like you don't belong here, or you don't belong here. They want you to move along. Unfortunately, we had some community members close by so that they could handle it where we could be in the area.
You look like you don't belong here. But, of course, if you said that to a gang of Somalis, do they have bandoleros of bullets extra across their chest and AK-47s? Are they in open-top Jeeps driving? I mean, are we turning into a third world hellhole of a kind? And I got to say, the answer is yes, we are. It was kind of a rhetorical question. I thank you for indulging me. But asking you for IDs, while the Democrats, it's my next topic, as a matter of fact, the Democrats on Capitol Hill fighting against IDs for Election Day. But we've got Little Mogadishu in Minneapolis, Minnesota, of all places, where there are mobs of white idiot liberals, demented liberals, and then Somalis. And you are being told to hand over your IDs, and I think I'd have to say, well, what? It's not Election Day. I'm not voting. I don't have any ID. I'm just a straight white male. I'm not smart enough to get an ID. This is the third worlding of everything. It's the fundamental transformation of America. And I'm sorry, you look like you don't belong here. Imagine if I won't say you, but if I were on camera telling them you look like you don't belong here. Mika Brzezinski would have another mental meltdown. And I was thinking, as you're describing, they identified your vehicle, said, oh, it looks like an ICE vehicle. I was thinking, but if you punched it and crashed into one of them, then Mika Brzezinski would defend you and say, oh, they're just running in front of vehicles and getting hit. Of course, she wouldn't, but the double standards.
Of the irony, because I did spend time with Somali community members or Somali Americans, and I do believe among some of them there is genuine kind of fear and intimidation. Some of that stoked by false stories, such as there are leaders there who will say, we're getting gunned down in the street for doing nothing. Well, that's not true, but some of them really do think that or fear that. But by the same token, the language they're using about the people who are coming into the community or people who are not, they don't think belong in the community, is very similar to how they say they're being made to feel by ICE. And I just started thinking about the irony that they don't understand the tables they're turning or the things they're doing and the things they're saying are very similar to what they say they object to being done to them. And that's kind of the message I left with as I was thinking about this last night.
Yeah, I no sense of irony is one of my catchphrases for Democrats. They prove every day that they don't understand irony whatsoever, and whatever they're accusing you of, it's the old Soviet playbook. Whatever they're accusing you of is likely what they are themselves in the midst of doing in real time. They're quite amazing, and you get these white liberals out there. A lot of white liberal women. Who seems to have, a category of people seem to have universally lost their brains at the same time. And these white liberal men out there, it is Minnesota. Look at the people they elect to public office. Pretty amazing stuff. But I'm sorry, you look like you don't belong here, and give me your ID, while they're going around calling everybody fascist for saying you should have an ID to vote on Election Day. Just extraordinary. It is positively third world. It is authoritarian, and I'm not even talking about the Somalis. I'm talking about the Democrats and the bourgeois that they're pushing on all of us is truly extraordinary stuff. How much time did you spend there?
Just 5 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night, doing the run with ICE, and then spending time in the community with some Somali Americans, and then shooting some additional interviews. So it was a quick in and out, but I don't claim to have gotten a great picture of everything, but I saw enough. So the phrase, you don't belong here, or they look like they don't belong here, was used numerous times when I was speaking to Somali community members who were talking about other people who had come in the community and maybe showing me videos. They were delighting that people they called right-wingers or, podcasters on the right, or, these social media guys, they were delighted that some of them had gotten beaten up for being there, or for, in one case, they said one guy wanted to burn the Quran. And again, I'm thinking, you're defending, the Somali Americans and the illegal immigrants are defending the right to protest vehemently, which you do have a right to protest. But then when somebody else comes to your community to do a protest, you're actually advocating that they got robbed and beaten up, and you think that's all good. I mean, again, the irony or the double standards, whatever you want to call it, was pretty surprising. And as they were showing me videos and talking about this, they were frequently using the phrase that someone had come in the community that clearly looked like they didn't belong, or they knew they didn't belong because of how they looked.
Yeah, you look like it's kind of funny, being an Anglo-European American being told by Somalis that you look like you don't belong here when you're in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Wow. Did anybody offer you maybe a beetle to munch on or anything?
I had some, actually, I forget the name of it, sambusa, traditional Somali food, which was actually quite excellent, as well as some, I guess, East Africa, almost like a chai tea with latte in it. There is some good food and wonderful culture, of course. But, this was, so there's signs on all the doors in this area that say, of course, no, ICE not served, ICE not welcome, no federal agents. And I thought about, is that legal? And it is legal, apparently, because ICE isn't a protected class. But again, I was thinking these are people doing a lawful job, in the country legally, meaning ICE agents doing something that's completely lawful if they're not misbehaving or breaking the law, but they're being told as a class they cannot patronize or go into any of these businesses. I mean, it's universal, these printed signs that are on all the stores there. Universal.
Wow. Yeah, no Irish need apply. The left is a cancer on our culture, and it's just extraordinary how awful they are. Sharyl Attkisson, you are great. I'm very happy that you called in. It was fun talking to you, and I love your storytelling, and I love your show. Your show is a wonderful show, and not this Sunday, but next Sunday, you're going to have on the story that you've done on Full Measure.
Yep, but you can watch this Sunday too.
Yeah, we can. Well, that's true. We don't have to wait just on this story, but this Sunday's full of great stuff too. What do you have this Sunday?
Oh my gosh, what is it? You put me on the spot. I taped it last week.
I'll tune in. I'll tell everybody. It's okay.
Oh, I know it is. A group has started an independent medical journal that is not tainted by pharmaceutical industry money, which all the others are. New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet, even the editors and former editors of these journals. acknowledge that much of the science, if not most of it in their journals, is not to be believed because it's so conflicted today, and yet our doctors rely on that. Well, now there's an independent journal that won't take pharmaceutical money.
That is great. You're the best. Thank you very much. Great talking to you. Full Measure is the television show. Thanks, Sharyl. She's the greatest. Known Sharyl for a long time. Just wonderful. Don't see her often enough in person, but just wonderful. You know that rural Americans deserve access to the very best of what our great nation has to offer, especially when it comes to health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, our neighbors, the people that we love. And no matter where you live, hospitals do not clock out. They are there 24/7, and they never clock out. They're always there. Each year, America's more than 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, providing cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients have come to expect and to rely on, certainly. Behind every one of those patients, there are, of course, doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But right now, there is some in Congress threatening that access to care. Tell Congress to protect patient care and keep America strong. Do not cut rural health care. Paid for by the Coalition to Strengthen America's Health Care. Yes, sir. Yeah, Sharyl, it really is a great show, and I DVR it forever. I've been DVRing and watching it. It is what 60 Minutes is supposed to be, but isn't. That's the first. It wasn't arranged. It wasn't a pre-arranged interview, so I'm not sure I can say it's an interview. The last time I did an interview on this show with anybody calling in prearranged was Donald Trump in his first term in office, and we went down to the executive office building to interview President Trump then. That's the last time I did an interview on this show. But Sharyl called in. We traded texts, and she called in. I said, I'd love to hear about that. So Sharyl Attkisson called in. And honestly, the show Full Measure is a very, very good show, very high-quality show, great journalism and great stories. It is. And you watch it and you say, wow, that's like, looks like 60 Minutes from 40 years ago when they used to do 60-minute stories. It's good stuff. I also still want to get to my best girl and I at the dinner table last night. My best girl said, you know that mailbag question from earlier today? And then she shared her thoughts with me. And I want to add a little bit of texture and share what my best girl said last night. Now, I want to get through this because I have a lot of other stuff to get to with the crazy Democrats as they are. But I mentioned that I went home, I did my Newsmax TV show, and my best girl and I, we were having dinner last night, and my best girl said, the mailbag, she was listening to at least part of the show yesterday, and said, the mailbag, there was a question in the mailbag, and she said, I could have given a better answer. And I said, well, that's impossible. How could that be? And she explained. It was the question from Beard of Sense, who said, when we were growing up in the 1970s, everyone was down on America, going through the Vietnam War and race riots and assassinations and Nixon resigning and, hippies and all that. Said, but when the bicentennial rolled around, 1976, 200 years since 1776, at least to my 14-year-old self, says Beard of Sense, we all seem to come together and celebrate. Do you think that's possible this coming July? And the answer that I gave was not sufficient for my best girl. And I did talk about how I was 16 years old. I was in New York. I was with my friend Wingate, Wing Crawford. His father was a pilot, named him Wing, named his son Wing. And So Wing Crawford and I, we were barreling around, and we were headed down to the Statue of Liberty for the fireworks on the 4th of July. Got into a big car accident, ended up in a hospital in the Bronx, where everybody that was being brought in had their fingers blown off because Democrats were throwing M80s into car windows and blowing people up and stuff. But it was an interesting 4th of July, and the car was wrecked and all that. But my best girl said, well, you could have given a better answer, and we talked about it a little bit at the dinner table. And I said, well, you're right, of course, but I don't have all the time in the world for everything that I'd like to do. So, leave me alone. I didn't really say that, but it was all fine, and a nice conversation, and then a delicious dinner. But that's at home. And the difference, and we talked about it for a couple of minutes, my best girl and I, about this question from Beard of Sense. And she said, listen, 1976 was very different than 2026 for a bunch of reasons. And she said in 1776, we had not raised a generation or two generations of anti-American Americans. The anti-American eagle. It's diabolical. That's in like Flint line. But the Democrats have, for the last couple of generations, been raising on college campuses and in high school curricula and even in grammar school and in the culture more broadly and late-night TV and so on. The Democrats have raised anti-American Americans for, I think, 2 generations now. And the people, they're anti-capitalist, they're open borders, they're pro-illegal alien, anti-law enforcement, they're hostile to the English language, in particular the American language, and to our culture. The left, that is to say the Democrat Party, has created an anti-American bloc that is huge. It is violent. They shoot Steve Scalise and Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump. They shoot police officers. No, the hell, they shoot and kill thousands of people every year in the United States, usually while Democrats are committing crimes and all of that good stuff. There is an anti-American Democrat Party today. I was going to say an element of or something where, they have violence interrupters who go and murder people in Washington, D.C. They want to defund the police. They don't care about Laken Riley and Joycelyn Nungaray, but they care very, very deeply about George Floyd. The Democrat Party is they're pro-crime, they're pro-murder, and they're anti-American. And they've raised and educated, I'm making quotation marks with my fingers, millions of Americans to be anti-American, and they don't care about crime or human life. I went back to Hey Jackass, the website Hey Jackass today, which tracks shootings and murders in Chicago. And listen to this. And it is now February 12th. That means day after tomorrow is what? It's Valentine's Day. That's what it is. It's Valentine's Day on Saturday. So in case you forgot, do something about that. But in Chicago, there have been 14 people shot and killed this month in 11 days. Now, today is 12 days, but this stopped at midnight last night. 14 just in Chicago shot and killed, and it's February 12th. That's in February, right? And so far this year, and again, January and then February 12th, 175 people have been shot in Chicago. 175 people have been shot in Chicago. It's not Mogadishu. It's Chicago. And 175 people have been shot so far this year. 44 in the last less than 2 weeks have been shot. 133 shot and wounded this year, 42 shot and killed this year. And that is not a problem. That's not abnormal. That is acceptable and normal because of Democrats, because they're nuts. Crazy. But back to my best girl. Look, the Democrats have raised anti-American Americans. They've got a huge, giant voting bloc that they're not on our side. And I've been talking about this stuff for years, and they're actually getting worse. They're not getting better. they're getting more dangerous. They're assassinating Charlie Kirks. They're shooting Donald Trump, tried to shoot him a second time. They shot Steve Scalise. It was a Bernie Sanders campaign volunteer. You know, Martin Luther King was assassinated by a Democrat, George Wallace, presidential campaign volunteer. That's right, Martin Luther King was shot by a Democrat Party presidential campaign volunteer and by the racist campaign of George Wallace. That's all. A communist shot John F. Kennedy, or the CIA, if you prefer. Remarkable stuff. But today, then as July 4th of this year, when we have our 250th anniversary, our 250th birthday as a nation, the Democrat Party is not joining in any celebration of the United States of America. I expect that there will be mob violence, that there will be a lot of arson, there will be attacks on police, and you know, Donald Trump is hosting the 250th, and the Trump derangement syndrome is, and they have America derangement syndrome too. It will be something of a test, but we're not the same country that we were 50 years ago, and that is 100% because of the left, which is the Democrat Party. All right, so I hope that will satisfy my my best girl on all of that. All right, Michael, where is the? Well, let's see, where did we leave off? We've got a couple of big Democrat stories that we want to get to, and and the hearing on Capitol Hill today as well. Did we do Chip Roy on 4? Okay, and Chip Roy, Congressman Chip Roy, was talking about he made a video when the SAVE Act passed the House of Representatives. And that's 20 seconds. Let's do it again. Let's give Chip Roy his due. Chip Roy, Republican representative, last night after the SAVE Act, which requires that you show an ID to vote, as they do in Brazil and France and South Africa. And in Mogadishu, in Somalia, they require ID to vote. But Democrats say black people can't get IDs because they're too dumb. Oh, yeah, I want to get to that guy, too. Chip Roy.
Hey, everybody, it's Chip Roy from Texas 21, and I'm outside of the House of Representatives, outside of the U.S. Capitol, where we just passed the Save America Act. Simple legislation, as you know, to guarantee that only American citizens vote in American elections and that we present voter ID at the polls. It was on a bipartisan basis. We had a Democrat join us. So now it heads to the Senate.
One Democrat. And it's almost like a joke that one Democrat voted for it, and it was Henry Cuellar, and he's the only one that voted for it, Texas Democrat. And so you say, hey, it's a bipartisan bill, which the Democrats do all the time, too. They get one demented Republican to vote for their death cult, Chip Roy.
So the question now is whether the Senate will take it up. And I hope they will take it up, but not just take it up.
They'll
take it up and press the rules of the Senate to force members of the Senate onto the floor and to debate. And go ahead and tell the American people why you don't support common sense legislation. Or maybe you do. We've already had Senator Fetterman, a Democrat, say, hey, I don't have a problem with voter ID. So let's put it on the floor of the Senate. Force the debate.
Chuck Schumer, the Lizard King, has already laid down the law. He said he's going to kill this bill and make sure that illegal aliens from every beephole around the world can vote in our elections, our presidential elections, because they're corrupt people. Chuck Schumer himself is personally corrupt. He's politically corrupt. And the Democrat Party is corrupt, and they want to steal power at every possible turn. And they're planning on abusing the filibuster again. And there will be no debate because the Lizard King, anti-American reptilian that he is. Now let's go to CNN, because there was this amazing exchange on CNN. You know, they have the one conservative on CNN, one, and it is Scott Jennings. And he was at their Lucite table yesterday with 5 or 6 Democrats, 3 of whom were black, 1 Latinx, I think 1 was Caucasian, and they're very angry about this bill, that because black people can't vote, they don't know how to drive a car, they don't know how to have a driver's license, they don't know nobody has a passport, nobody can identify themselves. This was the exchange back and forth. Scott Jennings with what's her name? Alencia Johnson, said that, President Trump is a terrible person. He's going to deny black people the right to vote.
He is actually championing a bill that actually would take voting rights away from a lot of black people in this country, all during Black History Month. And the question should be,
History Month.
Why do people continue to support him if they don't want us to believe they are okay with racism?
Wait, what voting rights is he taking away from
racism
black voters?
Black people.
We look at
the SAVE Act?
The SAVE Act. That's exactly what we're talking about. That is actually going to continue to disenfranchise overwhelmingly a lot of people of color. There are so many civil rights organizations that have run the data. If we look at the way that it is going to disenfranchise black voters, it's the same reason why Chuck Schumer called it Jim Crow 2.0.
So,
this is the same president. If we want to continue.
You haven't said how yet.
You haven't said how yet. And Scott Jennings is asking her again and again, this is going to deny black people the right to vote. And he says, how? And she just keeps babbling like an incoherent, drug-addled idiot. And there's data. And then she says that the Democrats all have the same brain, and it's shared, like a data center in Utah or something, feeding them their idiotic talking points. And it's racist, use the word racist, and black people. And during Black History Month, shortest month of the year, end in April Fool's Day. So that's what Marion Barry said about Black History Month. It just for Democrats trying to follow along. It does not end in April or in April Fool's Day. But there you go. The SAVE Act will disenfranchise people of color. And Scott Jennings just keeps saying, how? And there's no answer to that. They don't have an answer because there is no answer. And they played the Chuck Schumer soundbite because the Lizard King is playing there. And again, the Democrat Party playing the race card is like Charles Manson playing the crazy card, because they're the party of the Confederate States and plantations and bullwhips and Chuck Schumer.
It's Jim Crow 2.0, and I called it Jim Crow 2.0, and the right wing went nuts all over the internet. That's because they know it's true.
Yeah, they know it's true. You are Jim Crow. Every Jim Crow law was a Democrat law. Every racist in American history has been a Democrat, from George Wallace and Orville Faubus to Jefferson Davis, and go back through the, and then this Alencia. It's not even Alicia. It's Alencia Johnson. Everybody's racist.
I am talking about it. It's the way that you're putting new poll taxes on this when you're making people have
poll taxes.
That's what we can call them now. It's kind of
you're
an
a poll
idiom,
tax.
Right? If you want to say
you're a stripper
that
poll
people
tax.
have to prove that they are citizens, that they have to prove with a voter ID. The reality is you're layering what is a constitutional right for the American people and making it harder for people to vote in this country.
For illegal aliens who are not American citizens to vote. And this is the soft bigotry of low expectations on fentanyl. It's demented. Black people don't have a driver's license. Black people can't prove that they're born in the United States. Black people can't show a photo ID, but they do in South Africa, and they do in Mogadishu, Somalia, and they do in Brazil, and they do in France, but apparently in the United States. Scott Jennings, the only person with any common sense on the air at CNN today.
Does it concern you that you're making all these claims? You've yet to lay out how it's hurting anyone, but 76% of black voters think we should show an ID to vote. 80% of Hispanic voters, 83% of the American people. Are you saying that black voters are too dumb to know what's good for them? I mean, it sounds pretty condescending to me.
And then they say women. It's women can't vote either because women and black people don't have what it takes intellectually to have a photo ID and to register to vote. You got to register to vote. And somebody, if you're from Mogadishu, they might say, well, are you a U.S. citizen? And the Democrats say, you can't do that, racist. The party of lynching, going around calling everybody racist. Sure. They also abort about 40% of the black population every year in big cities across America. And then they call people racist. They firebomb the Jewish governor's mansion in Pennsylvania and chant from the river to the sea, wipe Israel off the face of the map on college campuses across America. And then they call everybody else Nazis. Once again, as Sharyl Attkisson was saying, no sense of irony.
That's a subtle racism of lowered expectations. Bing Crosby said that.
No, Bill Cosby said that.
That's racist.
And will you be the voice of a study from Morgan University? Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time.
The third world is the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is the third world. Maxine Waters, of course, she has no idea what month it is. Actually, texting with a friend of mine, Brian Wilson, and he makes a very good point. The Democrats insist no driver's license for voting, right? You just walk in, Jumbo, I'm here to vote, and all this good stuff. But, hey, what about the Second Amendment and owning a firearm? You think you should have to show an ID to own a firearm? That's right there in the Bill of Rights. That's the Second Amendment. You shouldn't have to show an ID or prove anything. You should just be able to buy guns out of the trunks of cars like Democrats do before they go murdering people in Chicago. But, yeah, guns, you need ID. You need to prove your everything. But to vote, no, right? Now, that was Maxine Waters. Let's go, because today on Capitol Hill in the United States Senate, there was a hearing with radical left-wing extremist anti-Semite Attorney General of Minneapolis, Keith Ellison, who's a former member of the House, and he's a horrible, terrible, corrupt, he genuinely is. I'm not even embellishing at all. Senator Josh Hawley with Keith Ellison about the madness of Minnesota.
You said, let's go fight these people, meaning the people who were investigating the fraud. Why'd you do it? Why'd you help them?
Are you going to let me answer?
Please, we're all ears.
So first of all, you're cherry picking quotes out of there.
Why did you help them?
I thought you were going to let me answer.
Why did you help them?
Are you going to let me answer?
Why did you help
You
them?
let me answer and I'll answer you.
Tell the truth and I'll let you answer.
I will tell the truth.
Good.
Let's do that.
That'd be a nice change. Why'd you help them?
Now see, Mr. Chairman, I didn't come here to be insulted. I came here voluntarily.
You came here for the truth. Let's have it. Why did you help them? The quotes are here.
You can't handle the truth. The chief law enforcement officer is like a Mogadishu third world clown, and he's encouraged, get out there and fight them, to fight the federal government. This is how the Democrats started the first Civil War over their slaves. Now their slaves are illegal aliens. Then Wisconsin Republican Senator Ron Johnson decided to join the fun.
I freely admit being in favor of the First Amendment.
And two people are dead because you encouraged them to put themselves into harm's way. And now you're exploiting those two martyrs. A tragedy was going to happen, and you encouraged it.
They incited.
And you ought to feel damn guilty about it.
There's no guilt. They feel no guilt. They don't care about human life, and they love having a body count. It gives them talking points.